Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. It's nice to see you all. What a great turnout for this episode. Oh, there's Anne. Great. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the second installment of our fall webinar series, which is called The Art and Science of Making Meaningful Moments, Subtle Strategies and Creative Conditions for Effective and Uplifting Facilitation. We have a great episode for you today, so thank you all for joining in. As a reminder, we record all of our webinars and they're posted online at interreach.org/webinar archive. So you can go ahead and navigate over to that link and check out all of our old webinars. And also our colleague Gabrielle Bammer adds them to her YouTube channel. So if you're not already subscribed to our listserv, please go ahead and do that. You can find that at interreach.org. And we share all of those links to our webinar archives, as well as updates about upcoming webinars. So I'm going to get everyone added here. All right. Welcome, everybody. Okay, so to start us off, I am going to introduce our speakers, and then I'm going to pass it over to them to take us away. So our speakers today are Anne Heberger-Marino, who is the founder of Mean2 Collaborations, a consultancy focused on creating conditions for highly effective collaboration across disciplinary boundaries. She was trained in awareness-based systems change through the Presencing Institute, and previously, she was a senior program director at the U.S. National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine. And our other speaker is Sarah Stevens, who is a professional experiential educator. She is a certified MBTI and Clifton Strengths facilitator and has specialized in creative, inclusive, effective, playful, and captivating team building and community engagement for over a decade. She is establishing her consultancy business and plans to pursue continuing education in integrative health and wellness coaching. So with that, I will turn it over to Anne and Sarah.
All right, let's do this. Okay. Let me get this slide up and we'll begin. But Anne, if you have any words, do share.
Well, as an introduction, InterReach people, I'm so excited that Sarah is here and a part of this community. I have been very lucky to get to know Sarah as part of the Facilitation Guild. Hannah and introduced the Guild last time in August. And this is just such a wonderfully rich group of knowledge and experience that we're bringing to you. And Sarah is one of those people that she is fun, she is grounded, and I'm so excited that the Guild is getting to share her with you, because there's many people in this group that I really adore you as individuals and as professionals, and Sarah is another one of those people in my world. So take it away, Sarah. You got your screen share ready?
Oh, yeah, except I wasn't expecting that. Okay, I'll follow up with my compliments at the end, but let's dive in. All right, so creating conditions for playful and mindful facilitation. To kick us off, we're going to do a little bit more of connection before content. So we're going to do an activity to start, since we're facilitators and we're doing playfulness and mindfulness. So the way this is going to work is I'll share my screen here, and then I will turn off the screen. And then ideally you're in gallery mode so you can see all the folks on screen. And those who want to participate, how we're going to do it is that pretty much you're going to turn your video off and mute. And I'll pass it to Anne just so you can get a sense of what this activity is like, and then we'll hand it off to the group. So essentially the person who goes is going to say, I share common ground with, and then you provide a statement. So it could be as simple as I share common ground with folks who love photography. It could be I share common ground with those who love nature. And then you could go a lot more in depth there if you want. If you agree with the statement that the person shared on screen, then you turn your video on and we'll just see the pixels of folks that do agree. The person in the center in the virtual world then picks the next person to go that shared, at least had their screen up and had that commonality with them. And then we'll continue on. So again, I share common ground with, if you agree with the statement, you put your video on. One of you will be picked out to go next. Then you take yourself off mute, share your statement, and it carries forward. All righty, are we ready? You can give me a visual thumbs up if need be, little ASL applause if you're pumped. All right, using your emojis, love it. Okay. So let me just change one video setting really quickly. All righty, so I have hidden video participants. So if you make sure you have your video off, I will start. And if you share common ground with me, turn that video back on. All right, I share common ground with folks who take their work seriously, but not themselves too seriously. Whew, all right, I'm in good company today. That's good, that's good. I'm glad Anne also is that person. So Anne, take it away. And we can go ahead and turn our videos off again for Anne.
I share common ground with people who sometimes forget to unmute themselves when it's their turn to speak. So I just did it.
All right, Anne, pick the next person.
The next person, I'm gonna pick Marissa because you're in the center of my screen.
Awesome, thanks, Anne. I share common ground with people who love to dance. Yay. All right, the person in the middle of my screen is Lisa Nanstad.
Okay. Sorry about the mask. I'm at my office. I share common ground with people who love to play music. Ooh. Okay, and the person I'm going to choose next is, let's see, Beth LaPensi.
I did the first thing, right? I started talking without unmuting. So I share common ground with all the foodies out there. And I'm gonna call on Thomas Cox.
Okay, I think mine builds off of Lisa's a little bit. I share common ground with people who find jazz to be a vital, if underappreciated, art form. Okay, I'm gonna pass the baton to Jenny Grabmeyer.
All right, this is the last one. Make it count.
Yeah. I share common ground with people who feel more sure of themselves in writing than speaking extemporaneously. Cool.
All right, let's give it up to us. So a little ASL applause, or you can high five your neighbors since we're all seeing each other on screen, maybe. Great, okay. So why did we do this? Let's dive in here. This is called an unofficial start. Again, connection before content. I'll go ahead and give you a little bit more information about me. Anne will go, and then we'll dive right in. As was mentioned, I like to consider myself a professional experiential educator. I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves the credit for the territories and experiences we've entered into. And so I have more of a challenge course adventure learning background, then entered into student affairs. Then I bring all of that together into my sessions. I do a lot of talent development work now, particularly with student staff or professional staff in the student affairs world at Colorado State University. If I had an expertise edge, I'd say team building, belonging, creativity, and play are central to who I am. I have 2 art degrees as well. And you'll see there's a little bit of legacy I have at the end here. I'm certified in MBTI and Clifton Strengths. I do it individually with folks, but also love to take it to new heights and do it with teams as well. I got my initial start more in the service learning world and then transitioned to adventure learning. And like I said, have blended it. I do a lot of community engagement work at CSU. That's more my dual role, that and staff training. And then finally, I'm the great granddaughter of the original Bozo the Clown and Goofy. And I could tell you a lot of other characters, but I'll stop there. So you will see my playfulness kind of come about because it's integrated into generations of my life. So that's a little bit about me. Anne. Oops.
All right, Anne is laughing at the wonderful use of emojis that people are using with your family legacy there, Sarah. This is great. Christine already did a lovely introduction for me. A piece of this that I will talk about that's relevant to our conversation today that I didn't put on the slide is that I've actually been a meditator for more years of my life that I have not been a meditator. But one of the pieces that I was willing to do this, I'm not even gonna say excited, I was willing to go into this topic because it's a piece of my world that's been very important for a long time. And it's taken a while for me to bring mindfulness into my work as a facilitator and a collaborator, and even as a program director. So I'm really excited about this opportunity and really hope that we can also bring out how those of you who are on this call want to use these tools and how you're using them in your own practice, because I think it's stronger if we do that as well. That's it.
And do you want me to just continue on with slides, or do you?
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be easier than hopping back and forth. Is that okay with you? And then I'll do it for you.
Yeah, that's great.
Great, thanks. What's next?
All right, here we go. Here's the official start. Take it away, Anne, again.
Oh, ta-da, yes. I'm hoping some of you will remember this from the August webinar. This is the decision-making diagram from Kaner's facilitation book. And yeah, Sarah, just go, I'll just talk with your moving of the slides. So this is a process that happens an awful lot in our interdisciplinary and collaborative work. We need to brainstorm. We have a lot of divergent ideas coming into our practice. And then we get to this middle that is an emergent space. This is a place where a lot of possibility is happening. This is a place of creativity. I think that's what Hannah had on the slides last time. And it's also a place where things can get pretty messy. Once we're through that, we can get to a converging space where we're actually have come to a decision. One of the ways that we can use mindfulness and play is to help essentially release the tension in that bursty middle piece. And what happens, this is what Sarah and I were talking about in terms of our comfort zone, is this first circle. This is usually at the beginning There's some discomfort, but we're okay with what's happening there. And then as we get into more divergent types of thought, this may be stretching our capacities to interact with other people. And the danger here is that we may get into a place of panic. And we don't want our groups to be there because that can lead to conflict and people completely disengaging from the group as well. Sometimes conflict is really bursty like this, but sometimes it's really slumpy and we lose engagement from people. So the tools that we're giving you today, what we're hoping you can do is use them, especially as you're building an experience for people, to work on that emotional trajectory of where people are going to be comfortable and engaged and where they may need a pressure release or a place to be more engaged and have a laugh. What else is happening on these slides? Yeah, so what happens there, that last thing was showing you're just expanding your comfort zone and your stretch zone by using mindfulness and play. And when you're working with a group over time, you can go to deeper levels of both mindfulness and play. You can imagine a lot of us may be working with a group for only an hour, or we have the same kind of material that we have to deliver over and over again. So we're not going to be able to get to as deep of an experience with people as we would if we were able to do this over time. But especially in scientific teams, they're going to diverge, emerge, and converge multiple times, either in a session. So you can think about this as one hour potentially with a group, or this could be something that happens over a long time. So what Sarah and I are presenting to you today is an initial level that we hope will be within everyone's stretch zone, but also not too uncomfortable. We don't want anyone in panic. And please, if you start feeling at any point uncomfortable with any of the things that we're doing, go off screen, take care of yourself, and do what you need to do in order to continue or not. You know, you might also just get really hungry because it's lunchtime for some of us and you need to eat. So that's okay too. Thanks, Sarah. Oh, I can save this first thing. Community guidelines. So be as present as you can be. So if hunger is disturbing you, go grab a snack. I talk a lot about presence because it is the one thing that is always within our power to try and give each other. And when we are together on Zoom, we may be in different places around the world, but we can still be in this moment together. So to the extent that you can, be here with us, with as much of you as you can.
Awesome. I will continue these on. We just have 3 guidelines for today, just for our short session, but always good to integrate in for any session that you do have with folks, whether you're creating it or co-creating it with the group. The next one is practice challenge by choice, which is definitely an adventure learning or outdoor leadership term that I just wanted to make sure we all have a baseline knowledge of. So one way of looking at it is you're advocating for yourself, just like Anne was saying, if you're getting into this stretch zone or panic zone, then scale back, but also challenge yourself to have some growth. Another way to look at it is you're taking a deliberative, minute, but calculated physical or psychological risk, but it's in a supportive and caring environment. And again, it's for you to reach new successes and determine what your growth edge is. So we're hoping you dive in with us just a little today to practice challenge by choice. We'll have another visual here in a moment for that. And my personal favorite is take your work seriously, but not yourself as seriously. But you're going for relatable over being just completely bizarre. So lean into it, figure out what, again, that authenticity is for yourself. But those were our 3 guidelines for today. All right, so here's another visual. You can see Anne and I are both very much creatives, and the way we perceive the same topic has a different look and feel to it. And hopefully you can just enjoy that. And honestly, I would challenge yourself to think which ways work for you. And then we're glad to be able to show you 2 variations of similar ways, but different ways to mindfully and playfully facilitate. Okay, so again, this is more challenge by choice. So you have your comfort zone. If you really want to think of it like as if you're at a challenge course setting, you're standing in your comfort zone. Then you're taking a stretch outside of it where you're not like going to pull a muscle per se, but it's like that comfortable type of stretching where you feel like, wow, I haven't done this in a while. I should do this more often. But if you're like really stretching so far that you're completely out of screen and you've torn a muscle or you feel very uncomfortable and in this panic zone, that is not where our goal is that you don't end up there. But it gives you a nice visual. So what we're going to do is utilize Zoom's unique features of engagement and do a little bit of annotation. If you've not done it before, I'm at least going to orient you to it. The next slide will actually be the activity. So what you need to do on your screen is you are going to click View Options. There's a few different ways to do this. If you're on a computer, you just kind of, oh, someone's figured it out, solid. You're going to go to the More Options. There's a drop down, click Annotate. We're hoping that you choose the stamp, which there's about 6 different stamps, whatever colors you want. And then you're going to place on the next screen where you're feeling about mindfulness today and where you're feeling about play. So they could be different, they could be the same, just kind of how are you entering into this space. So go ahead and get your annotation ready to go. If you're struggling to figure out where it is, if folks want to like just type into the chat, they're usually good crowdsourcing with Annotate. All righty, so I know the person before had already put their stamp down. If it's not correct, feel free to clear that and move it. Play and mindfulness, where are we thinking? Comfort zone in the middle, stretch growth zone is that orange color. Panic danger zone, how are you feeling about these topics as we enter in?
If the annotate isn't working for you, go ahead and put it in chat. Mindfulness, comfort, stretch, panic, and then play, comfort, stretch, panic. You can even use emojis if that feels like something you want to play with. So you can put your answers in chat, and that's fine.
Awesome. Love the circles, getting creative here. Somebody asked in the chat if you could do it in the web browser. I actually do not know, but I know you can do it on tablets and phones. So that's my learning edge. I will explore in the future.
The view option should be at the top middle of your screen-ish, where it says like you're viewing Sarah's screen.
Awesome. All righty, so big trick with Annotate, if you're facilitating, is you make sure you clear all drawings or it'll continue on to your next slide. But before I do that, I just want you to take it all in once more, kind of figure out where we at and maybe where you are in comparison to other folks. And my mouse has disappeared. When you run subtitles on PowerPoint, sometimes your computer likes to get a little wonky. So bear with me here for a moment. I'm just going to stop the share and then start again. Great. Awesome. All right, so that was called Challenge by Choice. I've noticed in the virtual world, I've used choice and voice a lot. So as we continue on throughout this session, I challenge you to think of how would you alter it for the folks you're working with, for how your programs maybe have changed, or if you're not from the student affairs world like I am, then figure out what works for you, your population, and your program. All righty, let's continue on. So we're going to start with playfulness, then we'll end up with mindfulness, and at the end, we'll have a challenge, choose your own adventure breakout rooms. So pay attention to which one you're maybe leaning a little more toward today or really want to stretch yourself and learn more about. So Anne and I will give a little bit of our background, strategies, when to use, but also not use playfulness and mindfulness. And we'll make sure you get tools and resources at the end. We'll even send them out with plenty of links for you to go even further if you wish. All right, here he is. Here's Pinto Colvig, that great grandfather I mentioned. Big thing with authenticity and facilitation, you might not believe it, but I'm totally introverted. And I've been a challenge course facilitator for a long time and large group talent development facilitator. And so yes, in my work world, I come across as maybe more extroverting, but I've grown up with this lineage of funny folks in my life. And I just want to live up to the standard, quite honestly. So I have little props that I have nearby should I need to elicit a reaction of funness and laughter on screen. But in all honesty, I really try to take my work seriously, but not myself seriously. And that's been consistent throughout. I want to reiterate for play that you do not need to have Goofy as your grandfather to be able to integrate that into your sessions. I think as long as you enjoy play and you see the benefit of it, just take a little smidge and add it in and eventually grow it out. So here's a little research for you. Stuart Brown's play might be like the single best book that really inspired me in the past. And I just think there's so many good nuggets out of it. So what's the definition? An absorbing, apparently purposeless activity that provides enjoyment and a suspension of self, consciousness, and sense of time. Couple things more. It boosts belonging, definitely not just for kids, nourishing, joyful, creative. Again, not time bound, and it's a break from the mundane. So not having Groundhog Day every day, which especially with COVID, that's just such a common symptom. And so play can disrupt that. Inborn, it can be both nature and nurtured. You can develop it throughout, but Stuart Brown is saying you are born as a playful being and we subdue it over time because we think if there's not situations for it, that's right, but that's not in fact the case. Voluntary, choice-based, and universal. So a lot of cultural differences there, but each being, and honestly, mammals all throughout play. Dolphins play, dogs play. They get a lot out of it. You know, happy dogs exist when they do zoomies in your backyard. Not only does play serve as the bonding element for a family, but it's also essential for marriages and workplace teams. So my goal here today is to get maybe some folks out of the mindset that play is in this other part of my life. It's in these silos, but trying to find a way to integrate it together because there's a lot of value there for building community off of it. So before we get into when not to play, I want you to light up the chat. So go ahead and type in, when do you think play might not be the right strategy when you're facilitating or in a group setting? I'm going to pull up the chat here. During active conflict, definitely. Yes. No conflict. Yeah, play would feel very insincere and definitely a disruption for that. What else? There's a few other ways, many probably. Without any warm up, so participants are very stiff. Yes, so physical play, even emotional play, kind of have to prime the group. Running out of time. Time's a huge factor for transference. Up against deadlines, totally. While making a big decision. So yeah, that at that moment, you're actually needing to be a little more serious and focus in. With a leader who will find it annoying, we got to get that person to realize even just a minute amount might make a huge difference, maybe. Awesome, so keep those rolling in. You touched on a lot of the ones I had. So moments of conflict, lack of trust, high risk environments. So that's the panic zone all the way. If there is not enough time, so just don't do play just for the sake of play. I mean, purposeless is fun and all, but it would be, if you're trying to convince the folks who are pretty adverse to play, find a way to take the activity you're doing and relate it to what your topic is for that session. If you can get ahead and have a metaphor and it was worthwhile the whole time, I think that will kind of soften the folks who have a really hardened impression of integrating play into work. And again, I put legitimately serious work. There's a lot of times we take ourselves a lot more seriously than we need to, and there's instances we can integrate play. All right, that's just a little bit about play. We'll participate in activities here in a moment, but I'm going to pass it over to Anne now.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Yes, this is the slide that tells me what I'm going to be telling you. One of the things I wanted to say about mindfulness and facilitation is that I think as facilitators, we are operating in a way as the mindfulness of the group. we are serving that function to be paying attention to dynamics, facial cues, what's happening in the moment, the energy in the room. Where do we need to go? What just happened? So our role as facilitators is to sort of hold that mindfulness capacity for the group, even if we're not doing an explicitly mindfulness-based exercise with them. So now Sarah, being an excellent adult education person, reminded me that every 7 minutes we should have a break so that people aren't listening to us for a very long time. So we are going to do a mindfulness exercise. This is an introduction mindfulness exercise. I think this should be well within everyone's comfort zone. I invite you to look about your immediate vicinity at the objects that are in your space. Pick up one of those objects, if you can, in your hands. If you feel better doing this with your video off, you can turn it off. If you want to keep it on, it's fine. So for a moment, hold the object with your eyes closed. Feel the weight of this object. Is it heavy? Is it rough? Maybe it's pointy. It's round. When you feel it, what does it remind you of? What else feels like this object? So now open your eyes again and hold your object still in your hands. And just look at it. An object that a few minutes ago was probably forgotten about on your desk. Are you looking at it in a slightly different way because you've taken a moment to hold it? Think for a minute about how you acquired this object. Could be a precious family heirloom given to you by someone you love. May have arrived on your doorstep from Amazon yesterday. So think about how it came into your life. And then for a moment, just imagine the connections of people and resources that might have gone into creating this object for you. Did someone mold it by hand out of materials? Was it made and designed in a factory far away? Could a local craftsperson have done this? Is the origin of how this object came to be completely mysterious to you? So just for a moment, think about all the people and resources that went into bringing this object to you. And maybe this object on your desk, if we think far enough, might connect you to the whole world. So what's that like for people? I'm curious what anybody wants to put in the chat about the object and what that experience was like. No takers in chat. That's okay. It's great, Christine. Working on it. Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah. So it's really, this new perspective is kind of what we're trying to do with mindfulness is, at least my take on it, is it tries to get us out of our habitual patterns. The reason I like this exercise, as Sarah said earlier, that we all have this inherent ability to play. We're also, most of us are inherently ability to be mindful and really choose where we put our intentions. Rachel, the frog that reminds you to get the important things done. I love that. I need a frog on the desk. Okay, so I'm gonna, yeah, keep the comments in chat coming. This was great. What else? What's next on this list here, Sarah? Oh, right, Anne's pointy hedgehog. So I was trying to think about a cute way of talking about, a playful way of talking about when to use mindfulness and when not to. And in the spirit of authenticity, sometimes when I'm talking about the things that get me a little charged up, I say that I go all pointy hedgehog about it. So these are just sort of the pointy hedgehog reminders around mindfulness. That's my perspective. It may be different for other people. Oh my goodness, Jenny had a paperclip hedgehog. That's a connection in the universe right there. So the piece here, as Sarah said about play, same thing with mindfulness. What you're doing, do it on purpose. Do it with an intention behind it of how it is going to move the group forward. And choose something that's meaningful to you if you can, or that you know that will be meaningful to other people. This is not a place for what I call like willy-nilly facilitation. These are places that you're serving the group. Yes, thanks, Sarah. You're serving the group. And that is what anything we do in facilitation or group process design, that is our goal. This isn't about us getting to try a new tool. It isn't about showing off how present we can be or how nice this new tool is. In this community, I don't think there's a lot of risk in us doing this, but with the ubiquity of mindfulness tools that are just floating around everywhere, from like Instagram to Twitter to TikTok, there can be a tendency to try something because we think it's neat, and they are. There are like some really cool things out there. But think about, how is this going to serve the group, just like we would do in any other piece of facilitation that we're going to use. Okay, what else did I say about this? Oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing it because it's cool. We're not doing it because it's fun, because we're being authentic. Your teams and the people you're working with will know the difference between when you're being authentic and when you're not. So let's see, I use using pineapples to talk about authenticity. So they'll know the difference between this pineapple and the next one. Okay, right, we can all see that. Your groups, if you use these tools in a way that is not genuine to who you are, you will be a plastic pineapple. It just won't work. So think about how what you're offering connects to the group, but also is a fit for you. Back to that, yeah, nobody wants to be a plastic pineapple, but it goes back to those concentric circles that you want to make sure that as a facilitator, you might be stretching your comfort zone, but do not put yourself, like Sarah did earlier, like stretching outside the confines of where you really should be. So practice mindfulness and using mindfulness. And then the last one, I think it's the last one, to honor the sources that some of these pieces come from. Many things that have become very secularized in mindfulness are more or less okay to use, but check where it came from. Some of these practices have very, very deep roots in traditions that are not from this continent or were on this continent before most of us were here. And to not do this, we run the risk of cultural appropriation and really disrespecting long-held beliefs and traditions. And the next slide shows you what, because this is like the McDonald'sification, right? Like we take, beautiful resources and we turn them into cheeseburger and french fries, which is nothing wrong with cheeseburgers and french fries. But my point here is to make sure that when you're using mindfulness, especially, you check your sources for your mindfulness, just like you would check the references that you put on a research paper. You wouldn't reference it unless you read it and you knew you knew what was in it. Same thing with your mindfulness tools. Just checking chat here real quick. One of the places that I really appreciate for contemplative and mindful practices is the Center for Mind and Higher Education. This is one of their graphics, which shows a very rich tree of contemplative practices that we have to draw from. These come from the East, they come from the West, they come from all sorts of places, and they have many, many resources. Some of these are embodied movements. Some of them are related to dialogue and storytelling, visualization, meditation, and mindfulness. So there's, sometimes when people hear mindfulness, they automatically think meditation, but there's this entire tree of branches that we can draw from. They're a great resource. Oh yeah, ULab. So those of you who were here in February have heard me talk about ULab before. This is an effort of the Presencing Institute. They're right now running a MOOC. The only reason I put this on here is that they're right now running a MOOC that uses an awful lot of mindfulness tools and practices. This is a place that is a great starting point if you want to start developing your capacity to use mindfulness and awareness-based practices in your work. They're launching right now. I recommend you do it with other people. If there's a lot of people who really, really want to do this and they, oh, see, look at this. Gemma hosts a ULab Hub. I was going to say I would be willing to do one for the group. So Gemma's already hosting a ULab Hub. We can all connect with her hub. It's a really great place. Yeah, thanks. So if you want more information about that, I guess there's two of us you can refer to for that. And we'll have information in the resources too.
All right, can you believe it? Time has, there's not much remaining. And so we're gonna maximize it by bringing back that 7 minutes, every 7 minutes have some engagement. So hopefully you have some context about mindfulness and play. I know we went through them pretty quickly, trying to pack it all into the hour. So now it's your choice. Both mindfulness and play should be a choice-based activity. Not forced upon you. And again, we're doing it in a very purposeful and intentional way. So now it is your choice to decide which breakout room you want to spend a little more time either with me or with Anne. Anne has some mindful movement. And I have a further pick your own adventure and you can decide then what we want to do. Based off of time, I think I have it to 7 minutes of time spent in here. And the other point I wanted to make is you can choose, you can set up Zoom for folks to be able to choose. So breakout rooms you can do very automatically. You can pick certain people and split up certain folks if need be. And people can also choose as long as they have the most updated among the most updated versions of Zoom. And so I created breakout rooms. I'm going to open them up here in just a moment. So the first one is Playtime with Sarah, number 1. And number 2 is Mindful Movement with Anne. So what we want you to do is that you're going to need to go to, I think you go to participants. Oh wait, maybe no. You go to breakout rooms. It'll be open. It'll be on there in just a moment. And then you're gonna, to the right, you're gonna click join, and then you'll be into that space. And then we'll come back together to wrap it up at the end. So I will open those now. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. Or if you don't have the most recent version of Zoom, then if you put in the chat, we can find your name here at the end and make sure you go to the appropriate room. Ah, yes, want to do both. That's so kind. Me too. I want to be in Anne's session. So
I was thinking the same thing, Sarah. I want to be in yours.
Oh. All right, there are some unassigned folks. So if you were in my group, feel free to change your name back or just leave it and see what the other group thinks of your new Zoom name tag. And in all honesty, if they're still in the other group, which is totally fine, I get it. That's hard. There we go. All right. Oh, nice. Did Anne come back? Oh, there she is. Okay, it's on. I bet Anne would say we wish we had had more time in there. But hopefully you got a little tidbit teaser. I'm a firm believer in folks leave folks wanting more. So, you know, Anne and I are always around. You could always reach out and we could continue this on. So just know we have a lot there.
You could come to office hours with us next week and we'll lead more of this.
Yes, yes.
Early plug.
I like that. That was good. That was a good ad. Good ad. So for the folks who were saying, oh, I wish I could go to both, you're getting to a place perhaps where you're realizing there's a lot of alignment and overlap between these two. So I might consider myself a playful facilitator with mindfulness practices, and Anne might consider herself a mindful facilitator with playful practices, or it could go back and forth. This is from Stuart Brown. This is from our own research and knowledge base, but also countless other sources. Play is a form of mindfulness, and you cannot be participating in play if you're not operating in the present. And so there is a lot of interchangeable value between the two, and one might work better in one place, or a beautiful blend together might be exactly what you're looking for. It's more of a state of mind more than activities, rewires the brain, growth-based, universal, but cultural. There's a lot there. My last slides are here, and then I'll pass it to Anne to wrap us up. There are a few things we did in the hour. It was action-packed. There was a lot. We did connection before content. We utilized the elements of an icebreaker. So variety of choices, non-threatening. Every 7 minutes, we had engagement. Varied learning technologies. If you're with the play session, we used Mentimeter, so many different engagement tools out there. Role modeling authenticity. I think you can tell the difference between how Anne and I operate, and we both have elements of the other, but we've really leaned into one or the other, and I hope we demonstrated that for you today. As facilitators, we are inherently playful and mindful, and the same with our visuals, and we hope we've left you wanting more, and office hours is that perfect transition. So that's it for me. Here we go to Anne to wrap us up.
We've got a couple of minutes if people want questions. We are having office hours next week. It's a different Zoom link, but it will go out on the InterReach web listserv, and the information is also on the Facilitation Guild website. Anybody have a question before we go?
Sure.
If you do have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself.
This was really wonderful, you guys. Thank you so much for this. I mean, just fun and playful, and also very, I've been so impressed with this whole series so far. So thank you guys so much. And if there are other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself, or join the office hours. There was a link in the listserv email that I sent last week and one yesterday. So we'll also send another link as well.
And even if there are more questions, feel free. And just keep in mind, we do this monthly. So the next session is articulating the value and practice of science facilitation with our pals in the Facilitation Guild, Amanda and Megan. So just always doing a plug for our next community members.
Great.
But thank you all. Thank you, Anne. You are great. This is my compliment to you to wrap it up.
Thank you, Sarah. I will meet you in Schitt's Creek.
Thank you, guys. Thank you everyone for joining the call. This was really wonderful. We'll see you next week or next month.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.